I don't know if you've heard of the word Hygge before. I'm probably not telling you anything new. I always thought it was Hygge by going how it looks like it's spelt, but I actually only recently, in the last month or so, found out it's actually pronounced Hygge. And I saw a really interesting definition for it. So it's spelled Hygge. And so the definition is the art of building sanctuary and community, of inviting closeness and paying attention to what makes us feel open-hearted and alive, to create well-being, connection, and warmth, and a feeling of belonging to the moment and to each other, and celebrating every day. So I'm on a couple Hygge groups on Facebook, and I keep seeing people asking for reading recommendations, Hygge reading recommendations, and that gave me the idea for this video. I had to stop and think, what are the coziest, best winter books I know? And I came up with a few. I mean, I could have come up with a huge list, but I don't want to make a long video. So, tea is very Hygge and cozy and comforting. So I made some tea for this video, and I'm sitting in this comfy chair with my nice cozy blanket that has stars and planets all over it. So I recommend that for your winter reading, to get a nice cup of tea and a cozy throw blanket. Alright, so my first cozy winter book is, now this might not be cozy to you, but it's cozy to me. This is Jane Eyre. And I have a little thing where if I see a Jane Eyre at a used book sale, I'll buy it. Actually there's another book in this stack that's like that, but I probably have 5 copies of Jane Eyre. This one is my favorite though, because it's so small and it's hardcover. I can take this anywhere. It's tiny. It just will like fit in my purse, and I carry it around with me a lot of the time. But my favorite part, which is so Hygge, is, and I don't think this is really a spoiler because the book is so old, but if you don't want to know anything about Jane Eyre, you might not want to listen. So anyways, it's chapter 19, and Mr. Rochester dresses up like a gypsy, and he has a whole house full of guests, and he kind of fools them all into thinking he's a gypsy, and he's telling fortunes, and he asks to see Jane last because she doesn't think she's good enough for getting her fortune told, and he's really just trying to find out her feelings for him, and it's just the cutest scene ever. I love it. It's so cute. It's sweet and cute and a little spooky. It's perfect. So, if nothing else, just read chapter 19. It starts a little bit into chapter 18. You could read that all by itself if you just wanted a taste of Jane Eyre. That's what I would give someone for a taste of Jane Eyre, is the gypsy scene. It's the best. Next up, and this is the other book that, for some reason, whenever I see it, I'll if it's at a used book sale and it's, not like under $1, I'll buy it, and I don't know why, because I already own several copies of it, but I just feel compelled to buy every copy of Walden that I see. And this book is so cozy. So good. So the first time I read this, I was in high school, and we were forced to read it. We were required to read it. And usually I really loved English and books, but for some reason I was under the impression I wasn't going to like Walden. I don't know why. So I went into it really thinking I was going to hate this book. Maybe it was the assignment. We had to keep a journal along with reading it, and I didn't really like reading that way, I thought. But I'd actually recommend doing that because this was years ago now, and I just have the best memories of writing this journal and reading this book in the wintertime. It was snowing outside, and I had to stop and really think about what I was reading and make thoughtful entries on my opinions of them. And when I was flipping through just now, before making this video, I happened to come across this. This is super Hygge. if you can say super hygge. It says, I had 3 chairs in my house. 1 for solitude, 2 for friendship, and 3 for society. I think that fits with that definition we just read. I love that. So it's been a little while since I last read this, and I'm really thinking I need to reread this again. I remember a part with like beans, him growing beans. I loved that. This is a great book. Any time of the year, but really great at the winter time. This next book you might not have heard of. I don't even know if it's still in print. I just happened to find this at a used bookstore. And it is The Winter of the Fisher. And a fisher is also known as a fisher cat. And it looks kind of like a giant weasel. And they're actually pretty vicious. You wouldn't want to come too close to one. They have very sharp teeth and can really mess you up. But they're also adorable. I've seen them, and they look like giant it's in the weasel family, but it looked like a giant teddy bear. It was in a tree, and the tree had a hole, and it was hollow inside. He went into the hole, and then he was like peeking out. He was so cute. Really cute. But like I said, you don't want to get too close to them. And they also make the most horrible screeching sounds. It sounds like a woman getting attacked when they screech. But this book is so good. And obviously it's a wintertime story, and it's from the fisher's perspective. There's all sorts of adventures. It's very realistic, though. You really feel like this is what would happen to a fisher cat out in the woods. He does come across a human. That's kind of interesting. Other animals. I love this. I read this in one evening a few years back. It was a winter evening. It was snowing. It was perfect. Get your tea and get this book, and you will have the best winter evening ever. Definitely. Okay, and then my last book that I chose for my list is the coziest book ever written. I think this is the most hygge book you could read. And it's for children, but I didn't read this as a child. I read this as an adult. It is The Wind in the Willows. This book is so adorable. So I've actually had this book since I was a child. I think it was a cartoon of Wind in the Willows when I was 8 on TV. They were showing it at Easter time, and I just was in love with this little cartoon, and I was like, Mom, I want a beautiful book of Wind in the Willows. And not long after, she took me to this used bookstore. It actually still has a stamp inside. It says Annie's Bookstop. It doesn't exist anymore. And they had this. And it's funny because it was someone else's first. It says June 16th, 1975 for Amy because she is my friend. Love, Mrs. Dinklage. Maybe a teacher? I don't know. Oh, that's cute. But now it's mine. And I think probably Amy and me are the only 2 people who've ever owned this book. And just, this cover, it's adorable. When I asked my mom for one, I think I was imagining one of those, like, library hardcover with gold lettering. I don't know what I thought. But I'm pretty happy with this, and it has all the illustrations inside. So like I had said in previous videos, I didn't really read books as a child, and it just sat on the shelf like my whole life. Until a few years ago when I finally read it, and oh my gosh, why didn't I read this as a child? But it doesn't matter. Any age, this is the most adorable, like, you will be so happy when you read this book, you cannot be not happy. This will just fill you with joy. It's incredible. But anyways, so Wind in the Willows, I only read this maybe for the first time 5 years ago. As an adult, completely loved it. It won't take you long to read. This is another one you could read in a winter's evening or 2. You could split it up. So my favorite character in all of literature that I've ever read, ever, my favorite character is in Wind of the Willows, and that is Mr. Toad. I love Mr. Toad. He is the greatest creation. He is adorable. He has just his personality. Oh my gosh. I just wanna squish him. He's something, Mr. Toad. You'll see what I mean if you read the book. I can't think of another character ever that I love as much as Mr. Toad. Here he is rowing the boat. Mr. Toad of Toad Hall. I love him. Okay, so those are my ideas for cozy Hygge-ish books. What cozy books do you like? Can you think of any books that are really cozy and good for winter? I might do another one of these for summer, because summer coziness is completely different than winter coziness. And actually, you could probably put Walden on a summer cozy list or a winter cozy list. I'm keeping it on the winter list because that was when I first read it, and it makes me feel like winter coziness. How many times can I say cozy? Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.